Welcome to the Movie Mirror. My name is Anthony Ramirez, and this is my reflection on The Secret of NIMH, directed and adapted to film by Don Bluth, based on the novel by Robert C. O'Brien. The Secret of NIMH is the story of a widowed field mouse who crosses paths with a mysterious group of rats that possess coinciding intentions. My experience with this film resonates with me in my childhood nostalgia, and if memory serves, I saw it for the first time with my second or third grade elementary school class. This falls fitly into the years that I was most open to influence, now ripe for reflection. Amidst its endearing story and memorable characters like the ominous great owl with his glowing eyes and cobweb cape, the valiant Mother Mouse Brisby, heroic Justin, Dom DeLuise as Jeremy the Raven, the wise rat Nicodemus, and conniving Jenner, The Secret of NIMH had the necessary elements for an enjoyable family feature. What the film truly had to offer, though, lay under the surface, specifically of a certain rosebush. The Secret of NIMH is among the body of commendable films that introduce intellectually matured themes to younger generations. When children are engaged and affected by these films, a mental investment on a cognitive or emotional level ensues, or both. This expands the intellectual and imaginative capabilities in youth. Access to these stages of thought at a younger age can then grow as a child does, providing a greater mental toolkit. Tonally and thematically, the film is reminiscent of stories such as The Lord of the Rings and even the video game BioShock at times. The twist lies in the anthropomorphic perspective, both creatively and in how the film functions. What I mean by creatively is that to an extent the story rationalizes why and how we are experiencing the events from the point of view of an animal normally not possessing human levels of consciousness. Interestingly, the rationale serves as both elements of the film's perspective and plot. Another aspect of the film, along with human-like perceptual abilities that is explored both directly and indirectly, is the influence of humans on other animals. Humans are portrayed as an antagonizing force behind many of the trials and tribulations that the characters of the film face, as well as having set off the course of events spawning the motivations of the film's subjects. What resonated most with me, and how these many human and animal attributes intertwine to tell the story, is the notably introspective reflection on several of humanity's defining characteristics. But you see, our shame is that we're stealing it. The rat Justin, a noble member of the Society of Rats, displays a strong moral code during a conversation between he and Mrs. Brisby. As the captain of the guard, Justin pragmatically fits as the personification of a value system founded on high levels of consciousness. His disposition towards the matter conveys the ability of the rats to grasp both intellectually and empathetically concepts of right and wrong. In the context that the story presents, the rats are not necessarily wrong for stealing, though, and traditionally, rats operate on survival instincts, not ideals of morality. Also, considering that the entity they are stealing from is the antagonizing force previously mentioned, Justin's unbiased, empathetic behavior helps paint the picture of the film's anthropomorphic reflection on aspects of human nature. During a conversation in a similar context, Nicodemus, leader of the rats, says, "We know too much." He's explaining to Mrs. Brisby why the rats can no longer live as they do. They are no longer content with the existence they built for themselves in their newfound state of being. It is reminiscent enough of their past identities as a species that a compulsion to ramble on emanates within them. Nicodemus, the embodiment of intelligence in the rat society, echoes a fueling attribute of humanity: curiosity. Curiosity has fueled human endeavors since long before their intellectual maturity as a species, and the disposition that the rats exhibit in their desire to move on from their current environment is reminiscent of that. This is just the beginning of the rats' journey, and it's intriguing to wonder what could be in store for the rats in their future endeavors as a species. The story could have concluded with the defeat of Jenner, and the rats could have saved the children of Mrs. Brisby and reached closure on a bit of a grim note with the death of Nicodemus. This, though, would have insinuated that the transformation of the rat's intellect had been more of a curse than a blessing, so to speak. This is where an amulet that had been given to Mrs. Brisby by Nicodemus reveals its significance. As the home of Mrs. Brisby sinks underground with her children inside, she puts the amulet around her neck and it begins to blaze red. A flow of energy emanates from the amulet, envelops the sinking home, and magically raises it from the earth, setting it safely aside. It is important to keep in mind that prior to this, the story had been heavily loyal to its proposed reality, and all of its liberties were partnered with scientific explanations within the suggested parameters of the story. What the amulet represented to me was the concept we have come to call the idea. An idea is the ultimate product of intelligence. It is also something that arguably exists with no observable form, but has unquantifiable influence on the physical world. In order to show the potential benefit that the acquisition of human-level intelligence could possess, the amulet representative of an idea, the empowering force of conscious entities, allowed Mrs. Brisby to save her children. In the film, its function was magical, and I would argue that in reality, the function of an idea is not dissimilar than that of magic. For me, magic has never been something that lacks an objective explanation, but something with the potential to affect and conceive beyond its own tangible form. Perhaps that can be said about many things. Perhaps the world is filled with magic. I suppose perspective is the culprit. What I can say for certain, though, is that to this day, I am still rooting for the mice, the shrew, ravens, rabbits, and the rats.